For as long as I can remember, November has tasted like bile. Most people see pumpkin spice. I see a draft notice. It is the Pavlovian response of a woman about to be conscripted. The battle lines were drawn early this year, she said. You're single. You have no excuse. She dumped 6 kids at my door. But I was already on a plane to Hawaii. She called screaming. Come back and fix this. Let me explain exactly how the bomb detonated. To the world, I am Katie, a senior designer managing Fortune 500 accounts. I own a condo in Chicago and pay a steep mortgage. But to my family, that woman does not exist. To them, I am just Katie, the childless one who plays on computers all day. Because I lack a husband or children, I am designated as the path of least resistance. I am the invisible servant who cuts the turkey, while the real adults drink the wine I bought. My professional success does not register. I was sitting in my office, staring at the gray Chicago skyline, when my phone rang. The screen lit up with, "Mom." I stared at it for 10 seconds. My heart rate spiked. That dread, cold and sharp, washed over me. I took a deep breath, put on my best dutiful daughter voice, and swiped answer. "Hey Mom," I said. "Katie, darling!" Her voice was too loud. It was a performance. My stomach tightened because her wonderful news usually meant a terrible inconvenience for me. "I have a plan," she chirped. "Since everyone is coming home, including the 6 grandbabies, the house will be chaos." I gripped my desk. "What plan, Mom?" "Well," she began, the smile dripping through the phone. "I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if the adults could have a vintage Christmas? Quiet dinners, wine tasting, relaxation." "Okay," I said slowly. "And the kids?" "That is where you come in," she said, as if bestowing a great honor. "They will have a sleepover at Aunt Katie's." Silence stretched on the line. She wanted me to host 6 children, including a baby and twin 4-year-old boys who were human hurricanes, for 3 days. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking. "You want me to watch 6 kids alone?" "Oh, don't be dramatic," she laughed. "It is just family time. You have that big house all to yourself. It is wasteful to keep it empty." She listed the dates. Christmas Eve until the 27th. 3 full days of unpaid labor while they drank Cabernet. "I can't do that," I said. "I have work deadlines." "I already told them you would." She interrupted, her tone shifting from sweet to steel. "Brittany bought a dress for dinner. Tyler made reservations. You can't ruin this for them." The trap snapped shut. She hadn't asked me. She had informed me. She conscripted me before I even picked up the phone. I felt the familiar weight of obligation pressing down on my chest. But this time, the crushing weight felt like fuel. "I do have things going on, Mom," I said, forcing my voice to remain steady despite the tremors in my hand. "I have critical deadlines. I just finished a massive project and need to recover." I tried to explain the exhaustion bone, deep in my shoulders. I had been pulling 60-hour weeks for 2 months straight to secure my bonus. I was dreaming of silence, not chaos. "I am not a daycare," I added firmly. 6 kids is impossible for one person. "Recover," she scoffed. The sound sharp and dismissive in my ear. "Recover from what, Katie? Sitting in your pajamas and clicking a mouse all day." The insult landed with practiced precision. "Your sister spends all day in a classroom with 30 screaming children. Your brother drives all over the city selling real estate. They have real stress, They are building legacies and raising the next generation. They actually need this break. My career was just a cute hobby to her. I have real stress too, I argued, though I knew it was futile before the words left my mouth. I manage entire digital systems. If I make a mistake, companies lose millions. It didn't matter. To her, stress was physical labor and parenting. You don't have mouths to feed, she interrupted, steamrolling my defense. You have all this free time and empty space. It is selfish to hoard it when your family needs you. You have no excuse. I am saying no, Mom, I said, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. There was a pause, a long, heavy silence that stretched until the static hummed. Then she let out a sigh that sounded like a deflating tire. I didn't think you would be this difficult, Katie. After everything we have done for you. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Dad would be so disappointed to hear you turning your back on family. That stung. She knew the mention of Dad was a low blow, but she used it anyway. Look, I am not discussing this anymore, she snapped, her patience evaporating. The kids are coming to your house on the morning of the 24th. We will drop them off around 10. You deal with it. You are their aunt, so act like it. I tried to interrupt, but she kept talking. Don't be selfish. It is unbecoming. My bridge club is here. Goodbye. The line went dead with a sharp click. I stared at my phone, my hand trembling with a mixture of rage and impotence. The audacity was breathtaking. She hadn't asked, she had commanded. She had conscripted me into forced labor and insulted my entire existence in under 3 minutes. I sat there for an hour, stewing in the silence of my office. If I said no again, she would unleash the flying monkeys. Brittany would call crying. Tyler would text insults. My computer pinged with an incoming email notification. It was from Aunt Sheila, forwarded to the whole family. The subject line read, Christmas flow and logistics. I opened the attachment. It was a detailed spreadsheet breaking down every hour of the holiday. There, in row 4, was the entry. The 24th of December, 10 a.m., drop kids at Katie's. It was dated 3 weeks ago. They had planned my servitude for a month, and only just told me. Words were useless now. I stared at the spreadsheet on my monitor. It wasn't just a schedule, it was a manifesto of my worthlessness. I grabbed my phone and dialed Margot. She answered on the second ring, her lawyer voice sharp and alert. What did they do now? She asked. Hearing my ragged breathing, I told her everything. The demand, the guilt trip, the spreadsheet found in my inbox. They planned it weeks ago, I whispered. I am just logistics. Margot didn't offer sympathy, she offered a verdict, sharp and immediate. Katie, listen to me, Margot said, her voice dropping into the register she used for closing arguments. You aren't a daughter to them right now. You are a utility. You are like the electricity or the Wi-Fi. I flinched at the accuracy of the comparison. They only notice you when you stop working. If you let them do this, you teach them that your time has zero value. She was right. I was a doormat with a pulse. So what do? I asked. Don't say no, Margot said. Just go. She paused, letting the words hang there in the heavy silence. If you refuse, they will make your life hell. They will harass you until you break. You need to initiate ghost protocol. Ghost protocol, I repeated. Disappear, she clarified. Be nowhere to be found. Let them drive to your house, unload the kids, and find a locked door. It sounded terrifying. It sounded perfect. But where would I go? I asked, scanning my dark office. Somewhere expensive, Margaret advised. Somewhere they can't follow. I opened my laptop and pulled up flight trackers. Hawaii flashed on the screen. Maui, 80 degrees and sunny. I found a flight leaving the evening of December 23rd. One way. First class. The price tag made my stomach lurch. $5,000. That was my renovation money. That was the savings account my mother mocked as hoarding. I hovered the mouse over the purchase button, my finger trembling. This was nuclear. Do it, Margaret whispered, sensing my hesitation through the phone. Think of it as a severance package. I thought about the spreadsheet. I thought about the kids' table at Thanksgiving. I thought about my mother laughing at my career. You work in your pajamas, she had said. Fine. Then I would wear pajamas in first class. I clicked the button. Confirmed. The screen burst into digital confetti. I wasn't just booking a vacation. I was buying my dignity back. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm. Now, this is the hard part, Margaret warned. You cannot tell them, not a word. If I warn them, I realized aloud, they will just guilt me into staying. Exactly, she said. If you give notice, they will negotiate. You have to blindside them. The cruelty made me pause, leaving them stranded in the snow with 6 kids. It was vicious. But then I remembered the vintage Christmas wine tour they booked while planning to use me as unpaid staff. They earned this, I said, my voice hardening. I am doing it. We hung up, and the silence in the room felt different. It wasn't empty anymore. It was charged with static. I looked at the confirmation email. $5,000. A month ago, that number would have made me nauseous. Now, looking at the receipt, I didn't see a cost. I saw a receipt for my freedom. I wasn't just leaving town. I was leaving the role I'd played for 30 years. The next 2 weeks were an exercise in psychological warfare, executed with the dull precision of a bureaucrat. I adopted the gray rock method to survive the countdown. When Mom texted demanding to know if I bought organic milk, I replied, sorted. When she asked if I was excited, I typed, getting there. I didn't offer information. I didn't ask questions. I just let her project her reality onto me. The silence was my shield, but behind it, I was dismantling my life. On December 22nd, the paranoia set in. Mom sent a sharp text. Send me a photo of the sleeping arrangements. I want to make sure there are enough blankets. Panic spiked. My living room was currently a staging ground for boxes, not a cozy slumber party. My expensive gaming PC and glass coffee table were already packed away in the basement storage. If I showed her the empty room, the game was up. I needed a lie, and I needed it immediately. I scrolled through my cloud storage. 2 years ago, I had hosted a sleepover for my friend's kids. I found a grainy photo of my living room covered in air mattresses and sheet forts. It looked warm and welcoming. I cropped out the date stamp and hit send. All set up. I captioned it. The 3 dots of her typing bubble pulsed for an eternity. Wash those sheets, she finally replied. They look dusty. She bought it. I exhaled, shaking. With the deception secured, I moved to the infrastructure. I wasn't just locking the doors. I was turning the house into a fortress of discomfort. I walked to the thermostat in the hallway. I pressed the down arrow, until the digital display read 55 degrees. It was just warm enough to keep the pipes from bursting, but cold enough to require a parka indoors. If they somehow broke in, they would be shivering within an hour. It felt petty, yet absolutely necessary. Next, I descended into the basement and located the main water valve. With a heavy grunt, I cranked it shut. If a toddler left a faucet running, I wasn't coming home to a flood. Then I called the security company. "I am going away for the holidays," I told the operator. "Put the account on high alert. If the alarm triggers, call the police immediately. Do not call me first." "Understood," he said. "We will dispatch officers instantly." The trap was armed. The final piece of the puzzle was human surveillance. My neighbor, Mr. Henderson, was 70 years old and despised noise. He hated when my sister's kids ran on his lawn. I knocked on his door with a bottle of single malt scotch. "Mr. Henderson," I said when he peered out, "I am leaving for Christmas. My family might try to come over. They are confused about my schedule." He eyed the bottle, his interest piqued. "Are they going to be yelling?" he asked. "Probably," I admitted. "If they show up and cause a scene, please feel free to call the police." "You have my full permission." His eyes lit up with a mischievous glint as he accepted the scotch. "Best Christmas present I have ever gotten," he grunted. I walked back across the frozen lawn to my cold, dark house. I expected to feel guilty about setting a trap for my own flesh and blood. Instead, a strange thrill ran through me. The trap was laid. December 23rd arrived with a biting wind that cut right through my wool coat. Inside, the house was silent and stripped bare. The guest room mattress was naked. The curtains were drawn tight against the world. I had one final task before the Uber arrived to take me away. I took the note, printed in bold size, 24 font, and walked to the front door. I taped it to the inside of the glass storm door. It was visible, but unreachable. The white paper stood out starkly against the gloom of the late afternoon. It read, "Mom, since I have no real life, I decided to go find one. I am not in the state. The house is locked. The alarm is set. Do not break in. Merry Christmas, Katie." I read it twice, letting the brutality of the words sink in. It felt final. It felt like burning a bridge while standing on it. I locked the deadbolt and walked away. Snow crunched under my boots as I marched down the driveway toward the street. I didn't look back at the house that was now a weapon waiting to fire. As I slid into the warm back seat of the car, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from Brittany. "Hey! The kids are so excited to see you tomorrow. Mason made you a drawing. See you at 10. A pang of guilt hit me hard. Mason didn't deserve this collateral damage. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the reply button for a second. If I stayed, I was teaching Mason that it is okay to treat women like servants. By leaving, maybe I was teaching him a harder lesson about respect. I swiped the notification away without replying. International terminal, please, I told the driver. The car merged onto the highway, leaving the suburbs behind. The gray skyline of Chicago faded in the rearview mirror, swallowed by the incoming snowstorm. The airport was a zoo of holiday desperation. Screaming babies and stressed parents cluttered every aisle. Usually, this atmosphere would spike my anxiety, but today I floated above it. I walked past the snaking economy line to the first-class counter. Checking in for Maui. The agent asked, smiling at my ticket. Yes, I said. Seat 1A. It wasn't just a seat number, it was a shield. For the first time in years, I wasn't the help. I was the VIP. Sitting in the lounge with a glass of complimentary champagne, I finally let my shoulders drop. The bubbles burned pleasantly in my throat. I pulled out my phone and opened the Ring app. The camera feed loaded, showing my front porch dark and quiet. The snow was starting to dust the doormat. The white note was a glowing rectangle in the darkness. I adjusted the settings, turning motion alerts and rich notifications to the maximum level. I needed to witness the collision. Flight 492 to Maui is now boarding. The announcer called over the loudspeaker. I downed the rest of my drink and walked onto the plane. The pod seat turned into a bed, offering a level of comfort my family had never afforded me. As the engines roared to life and pushed me back into the seat, I looked out the window. The lights of Chicago sprawled below, a grid of orange and white. I wasn't just flying away, I was escaping a prison. I woke up to the smell of hibiscus and salt water. Sunlight flooded the villa. A stark contrast to the gray slush I knew currently covered Chicago. It was 7 in the morning here, which meant it was 11 back home. I had slept through the deadline. My phone sat on the nightstand, hot to the touch, the battery drained from hours of frantic activity. The lock screen was a wall of panic 80, 4 text messages and 22 motion alerts. My heart hammered against my ribs, not from fear, but from a morbid, detached curiosity. I ignored the texts and opened the Ring app to watch the movie from the beginning. The timestamp read 10:04 a.m. 2 large SUVs pulled into my driveway, tires crunching on the fresh snow. My mother stepped out first, wearing her fur coat and high heels, looking magnificent and terrifying. Then the doors opened, and the clown car emptied. The twins jumped into a snowbank immediately, while Mason hit Lily with a plastic sword. It was pure chaos. Mom marched to the door and pounded on the wood with a gloved fist, expecting immediate servitude. "Katie, open up." The audio picked up her shrill command. She waited, then pounded again. Tyler walked up carrying 2 massive suitcases, struggling for grip on the ice. "Is she sleeping?" he asked. Mom tried the handle. Locked. She dug frantically into her designer purse for the spare key I had given her years ago. She jammed it in and twisted, but the lock didn't budge. "It doesn't fit," she said, confusion cracking her voice. She must have changed the locks. That was when she finally noticed the white paper taped to the glass. I watched her lean in, squinting against the glare. I saw her lips move as she read the words I had typed. "Mom, since I have no real life, I decided to go find one." Her hand flew to her mouth. She staggered back as if she had been physically slapped. "What is it?" Brittany asked, shivering in the wind with the baby. Tyler stepped up and read the rest out loud. "Do not break in. Merry Christmas." The silence on the porch was deafening, broken only by the wind and the baby's sudden, sharp cry. "She's gone?" Tyler said, laughing bitterly. "She actually left." Mom slammed her fist against the glass.
"This isn't funny, Katie!"
"Open this door right now." The noise summoned Mr. Henderson. I switched to the next clip. My neighbor stood on his porch in a bathrobe, holding a mug. "She's in Hawaii," he yelled over the fence, his voice clear on the recording. "Left yesterday." Said if you bothered me, I should call the cops. Mom looked ready to explode. Her perfect vintage Christmas was evaporating in the freezing wind. We aren't leaving until she opens up, Mom shrieked. The baby is turning blue. Brittany screamed back, tears streaming down her face. We have to go to your condo, Mom? My place isn't ready, Mom wailed. It's too small. There is no food. Tyler threw the suitcases back into the car with violent force. You should have thought of that before you insulted your free babysitter, he snapped. They drove away in a cloud of dark exhaust. I sat on my Hawaiian balcony, feeling light and heavy all at once. I spent the day by the pool, but I kept my phone close. At 8 p.m. Chicago time, a new motion alert chimed. The camera showed a lone figure stumbling up the driveway. It was Tyler. He was swaying, clearly drunk, and holding a tire iron. Come on, Katie, he muttered, slurring his words at the dark house. Just need the Xbox. Just need a place to sleep. He bypassed the front door and headed for the side gate toward the basement window. The sensors tripped instantly. The siren began to wail. My phone screen flashed with a call from the security company. Alarm triggered. Dispatch police? The operator asked. I hesitated for a fraction of a second. I could tell them it was just my idiot brother. I could save him from a record. Then I remembered Mom saying, he has real stress, he is building a legacy. Yes, I said clearly. Dispatch them. I have an intruder. I hung up and watched the live feed. 2 squad cars rolled up silently, lights flashing blue against the snow. Officers with flashlights swarmed the side yard. I heard shouting, then a dull thud. Moments later, they marched Tyler out in handcuffs. He was yelling, I live here. Ask my sister. But his sister was 4,000 miles away, drinking a Mai Tai. They shoved him into the back of a cruiser. Mr. Henderson watched from his window, raising a toast with his coffee mug. It was brutal. It was tragic. And it was the first time in my life I hadn't cleaned up their mess. The police cars drove away, leaving the house silent and secure. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Mom. I played it on speaker. You have destroyed this family, she sobbed, her voice thick with rage. Your brother is in jail because of you. You better fix this, Caddy. You better come back right now. I looked at the turquoise ocean stretching out before me. No, I whispered to the empty air. I took a sip of my drink. The bridge wasn't just burned, it was incinerated. My phone buzzed on December 26th, breaking the silence of my poolside retreat. It was Aunt Sheila, the family's unofficial historian of chaos. Katie, you absolute legend, she shouted over the line, her voice thick with glee. I saw the police report. Did you really have your own brother arrested? I adjusted my sunglasses, watching a waiter deliver a fresh towel. He broke a window, Sheila. The alarm system doesn't know he's family. Sheila cackled, a sound like dry leaves crunching. Well, nobody is bored this year. Sheila filled in the grim details of the occupation. Mom's 2-bedroom condo was currently housing 9 people, and enough resentment to power the city grid. It is a war zone, she reported happily. Tyler is bailed out but furious. Brittany is not speaking to Mom because Mom keeps criticizing her parenting. And the twins broke a ladro figurine. I felt a phantom twinge of sympathy, but it vanished quickly. And Mom? I asked. What is her version of events? Sheila paused for dramatic effect. Oh, Deanne is telling everyone you joined a cult, Sheila said. She claims you have been brainwashed by liberal anti-family agendas in the city. I laughed out loud, startling a passing couple. A cult. Because I went on vacation. It fits her narrative, honey. If you are crazy, she doesn't have to admit she was wrong. The delusion was impressive. Mom would rather rewrite reality than apologize. Let her talk, I said. I am staying here another week. But the war wasn't staying offline. Later that evening, my phone lit up with a Facebook notification. Brittany had tagged me in a post. It was a photo of her kids looking sad in Mom's cramped living room. The caption was a masterpiece of passive aggression. Heartbroken to travel all this way, only to be locked out in the snow by my own sister. Family is supposed to be everything, but some people are just cruel. Hug your loved ones tight, because you never know when they will turn their backs on you. The comments were already rolling in. A tide of sympathy from people who didn't know the truth. Oh my God, that is disgusting behavior, one cousin wrote. Praying for you, Brittany, said a neighbor. Then Mom chimed in, cementing the victimhood. We are making the best of it, despite the tragedy caused by my daughter's mental break. We forgive her, even if she hates us. That was it. That was the spark. Forgiveness for a crime I didn't commit. The heat rose in my chest. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the deactivate button. I could just disappear. I could let them win the narrative while I enjoyed the sun. But then I remembered the spreadsheet. I remembered. No real life. Silence was acceptance, and I was done accepting their version of me. I opened my photo gallery. I found the screenshot of Mom's email proving she planned the drop-off weeks ago. I found the text where I explicitly said, no. I selected them all. I didn't make a new status. I replied directly to Brittany's post in the comments, so every sympathizer would get a notification. Let's tell the whole story. I typed. Mom told me I have no real life, because I am single. She told you I begged to watch the kids. I didn't. I said no repeatedly. See attached emails where she planned to dump them on me, so she could go on a wine tour. I am an adult. I allowed myself a vacation. The reaction was instantaneous. The sad reacts stopped. The wow reacts began. A cousin commented, wait. Aunt Diane said Katie volunteered. My friend Margot jumped in with a GF of someone eating popcorn and the word RASEIPTS. The narrative didn't just crack. It shattered. I watched the notifications change tone. The sympathy for Brittany evaporated, replaced by questions she couldn't answer, without admitting they had all been played by Mom. The truth was ugly, but it was undeniably effective. Within 20 minutes, the post was gone. Brittany had deleted the entire thread, rather than face the evidence. It was a cowardly retreat. But it signaled a total surrender. They knew I wasn't playing by the old rules anymore. I wasn't the silent doormat. I was the one holding the records. Mom sent me one text message immediately after. It just said, "How could you?" I didn't reply. I didn't need to explain that the truth is only damaging if you are living a lie. I put the phone down and walked to the hotel front desk. The concierge looked up, smiling. "Everything okay, Miss Katie?" "Everything is perfect," I said, handing him my credit card. "I would like to extend my stay by 2 more nights. And upgrade me to the oceanfront suite. I wasn't going back to fix their mess." I wasn't going back to apologize. I was going to order room service and watch the sunset, knowing that for the first time, my life was mine. I flew back on January 2nd. The house smelled stale but safe. I walked through the rooms, noting the absence of sticky fingerprints or broken furniture. The silence wasn't empty, it was heavy with victory. I waited for the storm to restart, but my phone remained quiet. They didn't know how to handle this version of me, because the old buttons, guilt, shame, obligation, had been disconnected. I went back to work with laser focus, feeling lighter than I had in decades. On Sunday afternoon, the doorbell finally rang. I checked the camera before moving. It was Mom, alone. She held a Tupperware container like a shield. The universal Midwestern peace offering of lasagna. I opened the door, but didn't step back to let her in. She looked older, her hair less perfect than usual, her eyes scanning me for cracks. "Hi," she said, holding out the dish. "I brought dinner." I took it without smiling. "Thanks," I said. "Is that all?" She flinched at my tone, clutching her purse strap. "Can we stop this?" she asked, her voice trembling with performed fatigue. "Your brother and sister are furious, but I told them to drop it." She waited for gratitude that would never come. "I just don't understand what happened to you. You used to be so sweet." "I didn't change, Mom," I said, leaning against the doorframe to block her entry. "I just woke up. You don't want a daughter. You want a servant. We are family," she pleaded, her eyes welling up on cue. "We help each other." "No," I corrected her, keeping my voice flat and corporate. "I help you. You use me. That is not the same thing." She opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off. "You said I have no real life." "Well, I learned something in Hawaii. My time is extremely valuable." I reached into my back pocket. I had prepared for this exact moment for days. I pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to her. "What is this?" she asked, unfolding it with shaking hands. "It is a consulting agreement," I explained coldly. "Consulting and childcare services. My rate is $150 per hour per child, paid upfront." Her jaw dropped as she scanned the document. "You want to charge me to see my grandchildren?" she whispered, horrified. "No," I said. "I will be an aunt for free. But if you want a babysitter, while you go on wine tours, you pay the rate," I said. "Take it or leave it." She stared at me, searching for the girl who used to crave her approval. That girl was gone. She slowly folded the paper and tucked it into her purse. "Fine," she said, her voice hollow. "Fine." I smiled, finally stepping back to close the door. I didn't lose a family that day. I gained a client.